I got to play the Simmons SD550. Here are my thoughts. What's up? Justin here. Welcome to 65 Drums, the place to keep on top of all things electronic drum related. So take a look at this drum set. It's turned a lot of heads because it's got an all mesh design and it's $550. So we got to compare this against the Roland TD1K, the Yamaha DTX 400, and the Alesis Forge. Those are all $500 drum sets. And when you compare that to this drum set on paper, when you're looking at an ad, this thing looks like the drum set to buy because it has all mesh pads, and those pads are pretty large. So let's take a look at the specs for a second. This thing has a 10-inch snare, you got 8-inch toms, a 10-inch crash cymbal, a 10-inch hi-hat, and a 12-inch ride cymbal. You got the hi-hat controller, and you got the kick pad, which is basically on the floor. It's this little hockey puck thing, and then your drum beater is bent so it's hitting the floor instead of hitting straight forward as if there was a kick drum pad there. I wish this thing had a kick drum tower, but at least they're not doing those stupid hi-hat controller things and calling them kick drums like Roland and Yamaha are doing at that $500 price point. The drum module has 50 drum kits inside, 352 sounds with 60 songs as well. And it's got a detachable stick rest as well, and you got this LCD blue backlit screen for navigation. So this whole kit looks interesting, but what is it actually like to sit down and start playing it? It feels kind of cheap, honestly. I'm shocked that they somehow made this drum set and they're selling it for $550, because when you look at like a Roland drum set with all mesh pads, it starts at like what, $1,200? If you look at an all mesh drum set from Alesis, it starts at like $900 or $1,000. Even if you look at something like the Alesis Command, it's only got a mesh snare and then rubber toms. With this drum set, you got 8-inch toms that are mesh, and you got a 10-inch mesh snare. That's the same dimensions pretty much as a Roland TD25K or a Roland TD11 KV. So it's very, very interesting. But here's the thing you gotta realize. Just because it has mesh drums doesn't necessarily mean it's as good as a TD25 or a Roland TD11. The quality is not there. This is a very, very $500 drum set. It is what it is. If you want to buy this as a practice kit, that's definitely what I think it's going for. It's not really meant for anything above that. The one thing that worries me about this kit is that the dynamic range of the snare wasn't really there. I don't know if that's the pad's fault or the drum module's fault. I'm kind of leaning towards thinking that it's the drum module's fault. The snare drum was not tuned as highly as it should be. When you have a loose snare drum head, it doesn't pick up all the hits as well as when it's tuned pretty high. So I wish I had a drum key with me when I was playing this drum set, because I know I didn't get the full experience because I would have tuned up all those mesh heads, but I feel like the dynamic range isn't quite there on it. I did mess around with the settings a lot. I was impressed to find that there is threshold, sensitivity, crosstalk settings, so you can dial in the feel of these drums. I love the sizes. I mean, a 10-inch snare and a 12-inch ride cymbal, those are huge for a $500 drum set, so I'm really impressed by that. I just have mixed feelings about this drum set, if you can't tell. The sounds are what you'd expect for $500, not as good as the Roland or maybe Yamaha sounds, but they're doable, they're okay for practice. You got very large pads, they're all mesh heads. I feel like if I was gonna recommend this to anybody, this is the drum set for the guy that hates rubber pads. There are guys out there like that. They cannot stand rubber pads, they hate them, they only want to buy a mesh drum set. If you're on an extreme budget and you need to have mesh drum heads, I mean, this is your only option. This is like the king of value. I'm a little worried about durability. I don't think this will last you 5 years of use, honestly. You gotta buy this as a disposable drum set that you're gonna be using for practice. And the dynamic range of the snare, due to either the snare pad or the drum module, maybe it's even because of the tuning, but I didn't see the dynamics there that I wanted out of it. This is for the guy that needs a silent drum set to practice, a throwaway kit for $500 and wants to have mesh heads and hates rubber pads. That's the kind of drum set I'm looking at when I was playing this drum set. Again, I'm really impressed that they made this mesh drum set for $500. Great price for that. But if I were you, I would save up more money and spend $800 at a minimum. Get a Yamaha DTX 522K. That's my favorite drum set that's sub 1,000. If you want to spend even more than that, there are even better options later on. But if you can, if you're in that $500 range, it's worth spending an extra $300 to buy something like a Yamaha DTX 500 series. I just think it's worth spending the extra money. But anyway, that's what I think about this drum set. It's flawed, but it's an all mesh drum set, so it's really your call. Hey, I hope you guys have an awesome day. If you want to see more videos like this, click subscribe and that bell icon. I will see you guys in a few.